This is my compadre, Nancy Lewis Hill, and I are here for the Sunday Power Chat to talk about vision. And what is vision, and do you have one for your life? It's something that can really go unaddressed, and and then you find yourself one day awakening, and you see either you're in a pattern of repetition in your life, or you feel stagnant, right? Or you look back at either goals you set or aspirations you had, and you can't figure out why you haven't reached them yet. And most of the time, we find ourselves in this place of feeling not right where we want to be. It's because we didn't have a clear intention on or a roadway, a pathway, a design to get there. And so, hoping isn't enough, wishing isn't enough. We have to be in alignment with a really clear vision in order to get where we want to be. And so, let's just dive in. There is a technique for actually laying this out for yourself. And I know we're human beings, so we're complex, and so it involves many layers of ourselves in any decision making and any repetitive, or let's say a practice that we enter into. And it is a practice, to be in constant alignment and realignment with a clear goal and vision for life is a practice. And it can't just happen once. If we could all just eat like a stalk of broccoli and be healthy forever, wouldn't that be great? Like,
100%.
if it was easy, we'd all do it, right?
100%.
But the fact is, most people are chronically dehydrated because drinking water, even when you're not thirsty, is a practice, right? We're the only animal, though, that refuses to drink water and develops diseases because we're chronically dehydrated. So, and that's because we aren't in tune with our design and don't listen to the signs that we get. So vision, actually something really amazing that recently you accomplished, Nancy, is moving to Florida, right? Right? Did you just decide that, and then everything just fell into place? You decided that on a Friday, and Saturday was done.
Oh yeah, it was easy as that. That was it. It was a quick decision, and overnight it happened, and it was all good. Yeah, it was a decision, obviously, right? It definitely was a decision. However, was that it? No, no. It was a decision, a vision, a plan, a twist, a plot twist, and then a whole lot of purposeful things in between that
Right.
I did for
Right.
sure.
And did it happen like without any resistance from inside you?
And that would be great to say too, that I was just so willing, like, just joyfully saying, "Oh, yeah, this is uh, without thought. I'm just going."
You were just
Yeah,
joyful and willing, and you just started packing your stuff up and put it in a car and left.
absolutely. And I actually joyfully, and easily, downsized to fit everything into a small pod. I was like the whole
Right.
time, I was like, "This is the best thing ever." Like, I would do this every day, all day,
Right,
right?
right,
Like,
right. There wasn't any decision making that had to be done. There wasn't any letting go of sentimental,
oh, oh,
attachment
of
to
course not.
belongings.
Oh,
There was no fear of what if you don't get there and make enough money to
oh,
support yourself without
no, no, no.
having a work job to go to every day, right? None of that
No,
entered
no,
into play. Right.
of course
Which is
not.
why people make the decisions that make them happy every day. That's why the whole world is happy.
Right?
Right.
Seems elementary. Duh.
Elementary.
Oh, wouldn't that be
Duh.
great if that's how it always worked? Wouldn't that be great? But you know what
Yeah.
the thing is, it is great when you do it. So I can't wait to have this conversation because it is. I say, wouldn't it be great if? It would be great if it just was a natural inclination to do these kinds of things.
Yeah.
But what's great is that it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that it can't be joyful. So yeah.
Right. That's right. So let's talk about that. I know that I created a vision board for myself, especially in the pandemic. Actually, I've had one for a long time, and I've revamped it, and revisited, and and revised it. But especially when right, and I'd say about a year ago, I revisited it and got super, super clear about what I wanted my life to look like in the next 3 to 5 years. And if you haven't done that, I recommend it. And when you're making these kinds of imaginations and these kind of declarations about your life, it's important, one, to really get quiet and check in with yourself, right? So that you're not making decisions based on things that other people have told you, or you're not being influenced by anything outside of yourself, because the only truth is coming from in here. And if you're really focused and intentional about your alignment with your connection to your intuition, and no matter what your beliefs are about your spiritual beliefs are, we can all agree that there's something larger than ourselves, whether it's energy or if it's God, the source of that energy that we all can agree upon. I believe that we have a direct link to that, and it is what we are. We embody that and in the world, and so therefore we are also powerful creators. And if we have free will, so we have this choice to align with that, or be in our heads and in our analytical minds, and in our ego when we're making these choices and decisions. And we often will make them based on needs we're trying to fill, that are and we're trying to fill them from external sources. Like if we want to feel accepted or loved, or if when we don't have enough nurturing from self going into our daily, we can often seek out that type of nurturing feeling from other sources, other places, and it's no one else's responsibility to give that to us. Now we can enter into relationships and make these requests and let people know how we like to be loved, and that's all well and good. However, our innate joy, that is our joy rising, is our responsibility to maintain our access to it, right? Because no one can take that away. It's just that we kind of mute our access to it when we fill our heads with extraneous thoughts, and with lies, untruths, skewed perceptions that we form based on repetitive thoughts that we have about who we are and what the world has for us.
Yeah, and it's truly, we are the ones who control that. It's like
Yes.
you can blame it on things like, uh, for example, you can label yourself any way you want. You can blame something on your environment, but really, ultimately, it's like you have that choice. You have the decision that you can make. That where will you get where do you get your power from? And I know that I spent a lot of time getting it from outside sources, thinking that somebody else always knew more than, or knew better for me than I knew
Yeah.
for myself. And
Yeah.
and every time I did that, it isn't that people let me down. It isn't that at all. It's more that people don't know, they aren't me, right? So if they're
Right.
not me, their advice and their experiences might not work for me, might not apply for me. And I feel like, oh, and if you don't listen to what's really, if you're not in tune to what it means to you, what you
Right.
need, you can be fooled into thinking and believing, if that's what you want to do, that you're broken, you're the mess because it works for everybody else, but it doesn't work for me. So I must be, and it just will feed that story that just goes on and on. But
Yeah, and
yeah,
that we're not good enough, or somehow we're a
mm,
failure, or somehow there's something wrong with us. Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, we have those types of conversations, and if we don't interrupt them, then they do carry on into our lives, into everything we do and every decision we make. So one thing that I do, when I'm looking to get clear, about what it is that I truly desire, is that I create silence, right? It's said that silence is the way that God communicates with us, and everything else is basically BS. The true reality is in the unseen, and in the silence. And so if we go into that place, right, we go into that place where we can really get quiet and allow ourselves to really listen to our own heart beating, and listen to the silence, and in that allow everything else to fall away. And so I do that on a daily basis. I create that space of silence for myself, and then I ask myself some questions, and By the very nature of the makeup of the universe, you ask a question, it gets answered. And if you believe in God, ask and it shall be given. If you believe in energy, that energy attracts like energy, it's going to come back, right? And so if we're asking ourselves a question that we can't cognitively summon the answer to, and we likely don't want that answer to come from our head, we want it to come from our heart, from our spirit, and then use that answer immediately, right? Use it, right? Live in it as if we have true faith and trust in our intuitive abilities to perceive what's real and right for us. So that's the first thing I do, is get really quiet, and that might mean going for a walk in nature. That might mean actually sitting and meditating. That might mean, prayer. That might mean, just creating some me time in a nice warm bath, whatever it is for you that is quiet time. I would highly recommend it. And the next thing I do, so I ask you to, what is my what? Like, who am I? What is it that my heart truly desires? And you ask that question and you go inside, it's almost impossible not to get an answer. And a lot of times we'll push that first answer away because either we're scared to receive it or we don't believe it's possible. Because the thing we truly want will want to be expressed. It wants to emerge. There's always something waiting, wanting, desiring to emerge from us. And so, and whether or not we listen or pamp it down, like, what's that game you play with the the whack-a-mole, right? That's what we do. We whack-a-mole our dreams back down into their deep, dark holes that we put them in a long time ago. And because they scare us, they literally scare us. They make us jump, and they might actually make us have to take a leap. Whoa, see what I did there?
And a big leap.
A leap.
Big one, because
right.
Like, I have to pause in this, if you don't mind. I don't jump in.
Yeah,
because
go ahead.
A couple of things you said was, when you ask, you get an answer. And unless you get still enough and quiet enough, you're not really in the space to hear the answer. Because you'll be running, and when you're searching, it's as if your mind is running. So until you stop and pause to actually get used to hearing what the answer is,
yeah,
you could miss it. And so to pause is exactly like you said. It's just taking those, whatever it works for you, whatever your pause space is, however you do that thing that you do, that you center yourself and you just get calm.
And let me add to that before you go to your next point there. And so why that's so important is because the truth is that we can only ever get what we are willing to become. Right? So by become, I mean vibrationally become. And so if we aren't in a space to receive what we're asking for, it won't be given. It could be right there in front of us. The opportunity could be right there and we won't even see it. Because it'll be a protective measure where we won't even be able to see it because we're afraid of what it means, the kind of growth and transformation it might mean for us. And that means the ego has to change or die a little bit. It means that our habits might have to change and we might have to lose part of our identification, which we may have an attachment and attached it to who we are, some label, some name, some title, right? That we've attached to our self, our big self. Go ahead. So you're,
yeah, and that's exactly what you're saying. Is that it's inside of you, and if you're not hearing it, you don't see the forest for the trees. You're so busy saying no to what's coming up.
Yeah.
Whether you are knowingly saying no,
right? Whether you're knowingly saying no or you're just somewhere inside saying no, but you're pushing it away, so you don't even get to see the whole forest because you're like in the space of like that one tree, and then we say we're stuck. And are we really stuck by any other reason but our own selves? Are we the reason we're stuck? Are we stuck because we won't allow ourselves to see? And most often, what I see happening is when I know in my own personal case, but in people that I work with, is that when we say we're stuck,
Mhm.
oftentimes we peel it back, and it's we're stuck on the how.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect segue. So when we're trying to create a vision for our life, right? We frame the what, and the what is the beginning place, because you want to know what it is that you desire. And perhaps it's what you want to create. Perhaps it's what you want to feel or experience. Perhaps it's what your legacy you want to leave in the world is. Whatever the what is that you frame it, so that you can summon what you need in order to speak speak life into it. Then it moves into that space of, okay, well, who do I need to become for this vision to actually come to fruition, right? Who would I need to be in order for this to be my reality? Because if I was already that, I would already have this reality. So there is space, a gap between what I want and where I am and what I want, and who I am and who I am becoming. Right? So there's that gap.
That's huge, because I and a pause there, Takia, if you want to talk about it, it'd be great. But when someone says, "Who do I need to become?" I know that some people get tripped up on that, because they're thinking, "Well, I thought you just said that I'm enough as I am. So what do you mean I have to become somebody else?" And that's not what we're saying, right? That's not what
Right.
this message is.
No, not at all. So the thing is, even saying that I have a vision or I'm creating a vision, it means that I am becoming an active participant in my soul's evolution. So I'm always becoming more of me, becoming more of who I am. It's an expansion of my awareness of the truth of who I am. And so when we say becoming, it's how much wider and more expansive is my awareness of the truth of who I am and the possibilities for who I am, right? Is now present in my reality. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, how much more of me do I need to become? Right? How much who do I need to become? And meaning as myself, how much of me, and what do I need to be developing of myself? More realization of who you really are, and so that I think that's a great point. I think you cleared it up so well. But I know that I've had people get stuck on that. Well, what do you mean I got to become something else? Am I not? I'm enough. Yes, you are enough. But how much of you? You haven't even tapped into the all of you that there is. It's like you're like all that is.
So if you look at the word become, it says become, and the end of that is me, right? So my being, I'm coming more into being more me. Become.
Yeah. I love the way that is. Visually, mentally, that just makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. And so I know that the other thing, and if I derail you, just push me, press the button. But when we talk about vision boards, people talk about, oh, I put on my vision board, and because I thought about it, it should have manifested. It should have happened. It's like it's not that you don't have to do any action. It's not that because you put it on your little board and you wished for it and you dreamed about it that all of a sudden it appears. It's because when you also said that when you ask you get answered, and the universe responds, but it doesn't necessarily respond by you just sitting there wishing and dreaming and looking at your vision board and saying, oh, this is how it will be, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? We also said that you have to be in a state of receptivity. And your receptivity means that you're vibrationally open and willing, and you're emotionally willing to receive it in its totality. And so you have to be willing to take the next right step. And in order to do that, you need to be in alignment and listening. And so we're saying the next step, and the way that you prepare yourself for this is to ask yourself these questions that we're asking right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next question is, what do I need to let go of? Right? Because clearly I'm holding on to something that is preventing me from being able to receive the thing I'm asking for. So what is that? What if that is my need to be right? What if that my unwillingness to forgive? What if it's the stuff that I've been holding on to in boxes that I haven't looked at for 5 years, blocking the energy in my apartment, right? What if it's the relationship that I know is toxic and definitely disrupting my chakras every day? Right? So these are, what do I need to let go of? And perhaps even need to let go of my attachment to an identity, especially. This is part of the root of our suffering, is our attachment to our identity, right? So perhaps it's this doctor before our names. If you feel an overwhelming need to say when you enter a room that I'm Dr. So-and-so, and because saying your first name by itself isn't enough, then that's a problem. Just like I don't have a problem with using your doctor or any other accolade that you've accomplished in your life, as long as it's healthy for you, right? And so what if it's the same with any identity that we have. It's fine to use things to share parts of yourself, like makeup. I don't have an issue with makeup itself because it's neutral. It's how we use it, right? If we're using it, in a playful way and a way to adorn ourselves, to make something more fun and having different experiences, great. If we're using it as a step builder to being able to feel more whole and move it toward our sense of self, great. But if we're using it to hide and we don't have any, any healing or reflection or any deeper intention other than just hiding ourselves from the world, then I would ask, are you willing to look at that a little more deeply? And maybe that attachment is not the best thing for you. If it's not serving you, I would suggest that you take a look at it.
Right.
And so what are you willing to let go of? Right. So that's the next part.
And we clench onto something. Sometimes we knowingly are holding onto it, but we're so afraid to let go of it. And then there's other kinds of things are built in, like I don't know, maybe a lot of times it goes back to childhood, somewhere in our childhood that somebody said, oh, she's the smart one in the family, or she's the serious one in the family. And it's like, and so you can't seem to move out of that little space there because you don't know if you let go of that. It's such an early attachment.
Right.
Or
you are always the rock of the family, or you're always the one who had all the answers. So now you have this thing where you can't ask for help, whatever it is, you might, and that could be a big block. And once you release that, your need to do everything yourself, maybe that's the thing that's in your way to receiving all of the what your heart desires. It could be.
So light, so free.
Great segue right into the last piece here, which is, once you, know your what, and then you take a look at who it is that you need to become. And then you really dive into what is it that I need to let go of. And you ask the question. And it could be as simple as going to bed at night, asking the question before you go to bed, and then waking up and looking around and being open to receiving the answer, and then finally, it's really about, looking at where you can begin now. What gifts and talents do you have that you could contribute to this, the manifestation, the summoning of this truth for yourself in your life now? Where could you begin now? What do I already have that I could use to begin now? And then you take that step. Right? So I think we've come full circle. And this is because the first step is always the hardest, right? For most people, because we don't have any momentum yet. And inertia is hard to overcome. So we need this thing called activation energy where we overcome, a habit from years of us coming home, sitting on the couch watching TV, to now coming home and putting our nose in a book, or sending application off, or whatever it is that we need to do in order to begin to move toward what we say we want. There's a biological and a psychological and an emotional, and a spiritual shift and transformation that's happening that requires a tremendous amount of energy to create the momentum. And that's why your vision, your what, has to be so powerful that you're not just dependent on you summoning all of this energy for yourself. It has to pull you. That's why it has to be the real deal. Because if it's anything less than the truth of what your heart desires, it will not pull you, and you will not have enough thrust to begin. And if you do, you'll peter out, and you won't have the desire and the stick with it kind of energy to carry even if it has little momentum, to stick with it long enough to see it come to fruition. So, yeah.
It also runs the risk of thinking that it's empty when you get there. It didn't fill what it is you were looking for, because if it wasn't really, like you said, it wasn't really a true desire,
Yeah.
it's not going to fill that void. It's not going to, there's still going to be that space that says, this wasn't it. It's not, it's always a journey, first of all. But if it's not really your heart's desire, it's not going to taste good along the way. It's like a buffet that was just full of all kinds of things you didn't want to eat.
Yeah.
And you get to the end, it was a big bucket of stuff you didn't want to eat. And you're like, this wasn't what I wanted. I was kind of looking for like something really yummy here.
I get
And
my
the
money
yumminess
back.
comes later. It comes with you doing what really is your heart's desire.
Can I get a refund on that? That dream was nasty.
Right?
It tasted like styrofoam. It didn't have any taste.
Yeah, that was
I'm
not what I signed up for.
Right? I'm not satisfied. And so
Yeah.
how many people are truly satisfied with their lives? And that's why, that's why this conversation is so important. So we just wanted to come on today and just give you a little taste of what we do at the Kinetic Life Revolution. Check us out. We're on Facebook and also Instagram. Follow me. I'll let you know when we're doing more things. If come join us in our group. We have events coming up. We have lots of things happening. But we really just wanted to just come and share with you today, and give you perhaps some food for thought and maybe a little inspiration to like get clear about your vision for your life in this one trip we get in this incarnation. Regardless of what you believe about next lives, etc., we get one trip in this incarnation and this body and this timeline. And you are here in this timeline for a reason, right? And you have something to bring and a genius to offer the world that no one else has. And if you don't do what you're here to do, no one else will do it. It won't get done. So the world needs you. You are an original idea. And the world needs you. They say there aren't any original ideas, and that I believe that our experiences, like I know a lot about some things, and so in those areas of my life, I don't need to do a whole lot of there's not a lot of new information, but there's a lot of deeper and widening, I can do in those areas. And however, in this life, we are new ideas. And if you're in alignment, what you have to offer in the world will be unique to you. No one else can do what you do, the way you do it,
Let
the
that
energy
sink
you
in.
have. So we leave you today with
Yes.
that. It's a great segue. Go ahead, Nancy Lewis Hill. What do you have to tell the people today?
Ah, my goodness, you said what I always say, just in your words. I loved it. But you are amazingly made. There is no one anywhere designed to be you except you.
Yes.
You are such an original that however you design it to be is exactly right.
Yes. Perfect.
No other pattern.
Perfect. And you are more than enough. You are
Hmm.
necessary to the unfoldment of the cosmos. So be you, love you, peace and love. We'll see you again soon. And we're out.